I'm Werner Marbold. I'm the head of Workforce Insights at a company called Standard Bank, based in South Africa. We're one of the largest banks on the African continent, and we've got roughly 50,000 employees. We've been a Visier customer for the last 4 years. Standard Bank we call HR PNC, which stands for People and Culture. I think on a very ad hoc basis, we had a lot of disparate tools in the PNC community. And once we implemented Visier, everything was brought onto a single platform, which makes it possible for us now to slice and dice that data any way we want, and we can actually create specialized metrics that allows us to delve deeper into what some of the real issues are in the business. I think it's led to a lot of credibility for PNC. In the past, you would find that a lot of information was asked from finance, whether it was headcount or cost information regarding the employees, and we've been able to turn that around completely. From a business perspective, we are the go-to people now for business, for insights around their managers, their leadership effectiveness, return on investment, and even on a GLC level, which is our highest level in the organization, we now produce a monthly people pack for insights on the organization and what truly influences growth in the organization. So the impact on performance in the organization, I think, has been drastically turned around since we started to use Visier. We've got a couple of value drivers in the organization that's been defined. And what we did was we underpinned that with what we call True North metrics. And these True North metrics is top of mind for all of the senior leadership in the organization. To give you an idea, the pillars are to be client-focused, to have engaged employees, to deliver with excellence, and that typically leads to good financial impact, and obviously making sure that we are delivering in a socially responsible way. Coupled to that, we've got all of these employee metrics that we cover and monitor in the organization. They are typically the leadership effectiveness measurements. And some of them are employee retention, diversity learning dimensions. And that then forms part of the leadership performance scorecard on a yearly basis. Now, so all of the True North metrics have been incorporated into Visier, where we've built various leadership dashboards, some of them for team leaders, but also for COEs inside the organization. And everybody can see directly what their True North metrics are, as well as a bunch of other information. I mean, I can see who in the teams are compliant, who's not leave compliant, where there's an increase in sick absenteeism, or any one of the leadership indexes or employee engagement metrics as well. They can drill into that and actually see exactly where some of the issues are. The line managers now to action through a couple of measures. Number one, we send them automated emails to tell them that a specific event has taken place. Or secondly, in the way that we've designed it, you can clearly see certain trends, and we've benchmarked certain values to show whether it's above a tolerance value or below a tolerance value. And in that way, they can then actually drill down and act to where the issue is. So there's been a couple of improvements. I can call out a specific project that we ran quite recently. It was in a specific business areas ops team, where as soon as we could bring together all of these different metrics, it became clear that there was a major issue in that area. We looked at the NPS score that was going down drastically. We looked at sick absenteeism that was going up. We had a lot of ER cases in those areas. So a lot of problems, but in isolation, nobody ever saw that. Eventually that led to a management change. But apart from that, the new managers were in a position to look at the data, dive into it, and actually see what the employees said. there was clearly an inability for them to speak up in that specific area, and they started to implement changes. And within 2 years, it was amazing how you could see that turnaround in that business. How every single one of those indicators actually started to go up. Okay, so some of the diversity challenges, we've got quite stringent targets on female senior managers as an example. So all of those are part of our key North metric indicators that we are measuring. People in leadership, female representation, and then we also look at pay gap information between male and female. Throughout the organization, there's been quite a turnaround in some of these diversity numbers, simply because we make it so evident. Every single line manager has got access to that. They know they get measured against it on their True North metrics. The True North metrics are linked directly to their performance scores. So it's extremely important for them to look on it and make sure that they stay within the tolerances. And there's been a huge uptake and a downward trend in all of that. I think the leadership effectiveness index has sort of evolved over the last couple of years. We've looked at various metrics and we keep on changing that. So we sat down with our management team, our leadership team, and said what are the true North metrics that we want to drive, and that supports these value pillars that we talk about. It's evolved over time, you know. So in terms of something like learning and development, we've looked at things like learning hours, and we saw quickly that we had to change that to not how much people are learning, or rather than what they are learning. Where others are clear, you know, we've got a requirement on us to make sure that we grow females in senior management positions and have diversity at our executive level. And those all form part of this basket of measures that we're looking at. I think one of the aha moments for us at the bank was the way that the system or the platform that we've implemented was accepted into the organization. We've got extremely good buy-in from senior management leadership that allows us to have a very bullish approach to how we put this out into the organization. We immediately went right from the PNC BPs, the PNC heads, the COEs, right down into the line managers with larger teams, and then slowly roll that out lower into the organization. And the uptake has been absolutely amazing. It allows us to speak directly to the managers, to prompt them if there's specific things happening like a performance cycle that's going on, and you can immediately see the response that line managers have to that. That's apart from where business themselves look at the data and start to act on that data and implement plans immediately to rectify certain things that they see. You know, I think it's a well-known fact that they always say that people join great companies and they leave poor leaders. So it's important for us to make sure that our leaders are equipped to be the best possible leaders that they can be. And that's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of pressures on them to deliver on various factors. And we try to make sure that they've got as much information as possible to do their job. I mean, after all, I know it's a terrible saying to say managers are people after all. I mean, they were employees and they were put under tremendous pressure, and we're trying our best from PNC to make sure that they're actually supported in the right way. I think there's a couple of things that's important if you want to really be successful in your rollout. I think the first one is to decide what are your True North metrics. What is it that you want to measure and that you want to influence in the organization. It's difficult when it comes to effective management indicators, but make sure that you listen to your employees as well. Look at your indicators like people that are open to speak up. your turnover rates, your diversity indicators, your learning and development indicators. So it's important to really understand what you're focusing on. And then secondly, don't wait for the perfect answer. Your data is never going to be perfect. Go out as quickly as you can, I think as wide as you can, and I think the data actually leads the conversation at the end of the day. As soon as you go out, people come back with more questions and you can actually act on that. I think the next steps is that we've rolled it out quite widely into the organization. We obviously want to get our adoption levels up even higher. We've got 13,000 registered users at the moment in the bank. The next big thing for us is to basically turn that around and start to give employees access to the data as well. We've already designed the guidebooks, and we're in the process of allowing people to go and look at their own data. In that way, I will hopefully have 50,000 data quality managers at the end of the day that will help me look at their data, interrogate that, and tell us when something actually does not look right. I think it's going to add huge value because employees can then look at their profiles, they can look at their career progression, and hopefully then demand to be taught in the right way, to get educated in the right way so that they can grow their careers in the appropriate direction. The impact of AI is going to be huge on HR. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. At the moment, even though we know it's going to be, I think we're still underestimating exactly what that impact is going to be. In certain areas, it's easier to understand and to see. I think in the recruiting side, it can have a massive impact almost immediately. But just in the way that we deal with data, the way that we can ask it to clean up our positions or our job titles, things that we traditionally don't think is actually possible with large sets of data, or that is extremely difficult. AI is going to help us assist in that. I think it's not a question of if it's going to influence it, it's how big that influence is going to be, but it'll always need that people element. So the practitioner that will not use it is going to be left behind. The practitioners that are actually using it to their advantage are going to be the people that will excel at the end of the day.